Welcome back to From My Living Room to Yours. Well, I did it again. I had another one of those crazy COVID accidents this weekend. Actually, I don't know if I can blame it on pandemic stress or not, but for no apparent reason, I wasn't rushing, I didn't have too many things in my hands, I just completely skipped a step Saturday morning, coming down from my dining room into my living room. And there were only 2 steps, but I just took 1 step. And as I was falling, I was thinking, how is this happening? This is not supposed to be happening. Luckily, I didn't hurt my arms at all. I don't think I braced myself, so no broken wrists. But I felt my foot completely bending past the place it should bend as I fell. I immediately began rest, ice, compression, and elevate. And whenever something like that happens, I'm amazed at the energy it takes for our bodies to heal. So not only was I tired and achy, but you can't really do much when you're trying to keep your foot up above your heart. So what happened is that I practiced a fair amount of self-care over the past few days. I think that was a good thing. I gave myself permission to not accomplish anything, not run errands because I couldn't get a shoe on, to have my dinner delivered, to just curl up with my cats. I think I needed that. Of course, I want to caution you that I don't think God makes bad things happen so that we'll pay attention. But I do think that anytime something like this happens, it's an opportunity for us to wonder, could I be doing things differently? So I'm wondering how I might create more intentional space in my life to just be. To not be reading an article about church growth or cleaning my house or thinking about my next sermon, but to simply and literally put my feet up and not think about anything. I read a line in the daily 365 devotional app the other day about going to be filled from the wellspring of hope, and that really resonated with me. God calls us each day, maybe each hour if we're listening, to that wellspring of hope where love, compassion, hope flows eternally. Hope is ever present in God's wellspring, and all we need to do is tap into it. I also want to remind you that the kind of self-care I'm talking about isn't selfish. The rest of the world needs us to go to the wellspring of hope, because when we do, when we refresh ourselves, we become a wellspring of hope for others. So until next time, friends, be humble, be grateful, be kind, and take care of yourselves.